Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the MIAA Football Media Day. My name is Brenna Wynn. We're going to get started right away. I'd like to welcome MIAA Commissioner Mike Gracie.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenna. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to 2023 MIAA Football Media Day here at the beautiful Kauffman Foundation Conference Center. This is such a jewel in Kansas City to have this type of facility. And they are very generous in opening their door to colleges and universities around the city, and also to education associations like the MIAA to do meetings and special events. So we're very happy to be here. I'd like to welcome all of our coaches and student athletes, also those that are at home watching on the MIAA network this morning. We welcome you to Media Day. For those here in attendance, this is our main press conference room. Across the hall in the Troost room is the room that lunch will be served later on this morning. And then we have another room across the hall. The Brush Creek room is primarily where our media center will be, and any of our media that want to go one-on-one with our student athletes or coaches or our supervisor officials, or even our referees who are here today. That would be the room in Brush Creek to make that happen. Brenna will obviously answer any questions you might have about resources or any information you may need today. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Siegfried Bingham, local law firm here in Kansas City. We've been working with them for several years, and we're happy that they continue to support the MIAA by sponsoring our basketball and football media days. Some of you may know or notice by the way I'm sitting, or this silly cane that's sitting up here next to me. I had knee surgery recently, knee replacement surgery about 2 weeks ago, and very happy to be here. The last 2 weeks, a little different summer for me. I was not around the office for planning and putting this event together, so I'd like to thank Amber and Brenna and Marshall and Anthony from the MIAA staff in getting this event organized and ready to go. I'd like to give a shout out to my knee surgery surgeon, Dr. Robert Paul. I kept it in the family. Dr. Paul is a former Northwest Missouri State football player, and he's an orthopedic surgeon here in the Kansas City area, and he and I have developed a friendship and now a partnership to get my knee feeling better. But Dr. Paul did a great job, and I'm very happy with his work. I'd like to also thank Phil Laurie, our supervisor of officials, for being here. As you know, Phil has been with the MIAA for a number of years in this capacity. He's absolutely the best at what he does at any level in the NCAA, well respected throughout the country. By officials, by administrators, and by the NCAA office. So, Phil, thank you for everything you do for MIAA football and Division II football. Phil has brought a number of referees with him today, our White Hats, who are with us today for MIAA Football Media Day, and we're happy that they could be with us and make time out of their schedule to be here to help us kick off the MIAA football season. Let me say a couple of things about last year. As most of you know, 2022 was a year that was highlighted by the MIAA being able to do an experiment for the NCAA related to instant replay. We went to the NCAA and asked permission to do replay a little different than having a replay booth, and I thought it was a great year for us to experiment with that new rule. We had 45 coaches challenges last season. 11 of those were reversed. So we had 11 plays that coaches wanted us to take another look at that did result in a reversal. Maybe most important, we had 9 targeting calls last season that were automatically reviewed, and 7 of those were reversed, where we were able to get the student athletes back into the game right away. In the past, they would have been out and missing the opportunity to be playing. And so replay really, as it relates to targeting, is a game changer in Division II football. This past spring, the NCAA, it did approve the MIAA process, our instant replay process, as a new rule in NCAA football for all three divisions. Any institution or conference not using a replay booth that wants to have instant replay will follow what the MIAA put in place this year or last year. This year, the only thing different that we'll be doing is we'll be adding another camera to our MIAA football replay to give our referees another view on the play, camera angle for the play on the field. There was some activity last January at the NCAA convention. There were two big legislative changes that were adopted in Division II football. These were changes that were led by MIAA-sponsored legislative proposals. Our coaches, administrators, and presidents agreed that these were good things for Division II football, and they were supported by the membership. The first big change is the new Division II football redshirt rule. This will allow freshmen beginning this season to play in up to 3 football games at any point during the season and not use a season of competition. So our coaches will be able to get maybe it's a freshman defensive back or linebacker or offensive lineman into 1, 2, or 3 football games and still provide that student athlete with 4 full seasons of eligibility to play Division II football. Also adopted last January is the new Division II football spring competition rule. And beginning this spring, Division II schools will have the opportunity to do a joint practice or scrimmage against another institution. In the past, those practices and scrimmages had to be inter-squad, and now this will open up the opportunity for 2 teams to get together during the spring for that type of activity. Following last football season, where the MIAA faced the unlikely possibility of only having 1 team in the Division II football playoff, and then saw 4 of the top 5 teams in the country meet in the second round of the Division II playoffs, the MIAA and the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference agreed to form the new Division II Football Alliance. That was put together this past January. Currently, that alliance consists of 7 Division II football conferences. This is a grassroots leadership group focused on improving Division II football. Everyone involved in the alliance, the presidents, the athletic directors, the commissioners, understand the type of investment being made by our schools in offering intercollegiate football. They also understand that intercollegiate football is different than any other sport on our campuses. It serves as the campus front door. Football is how our campuses engage alumni, engage the campus student body, and offer special events like Family Day, Homecoming, and Military Appreciation Day. Football is different in Division I. Football is different in Division II. And that's what this football alliance is about. We've had 3 meetings. At every one of our meetings, we've had Coach Mel Churchman with our group, with Coaches Connection from the MIAA providing, or from the NCAA providing a coach's perspective, and that's been invaluable. One of the early alliance outcomes was 5 conferences coming together this past spring and early summer to sponsor a new legislative proposal that will change the start date for the Division II football season. That proposal will be considered at the 2024 NCAA convention, and it's permissive legislation. Schools will not have to follow that. I can tell you that the MIAA will, if adopted, will be starting the school a week earlier. And in essence, what it provides is 12 weeks to play 11 football games. We could start in week 2 and play 11 consecutive weeks. More likely for the MIAA, will start in what is considered week 0, and all of our institutions would have a bye week at some time during the football season. The MIAA is excited about this proposal. It's important for Division II football. It provides great scheduling flexibility for conferences. As I mentioned, the potential bye week will be a huge benefit for the health and safety of our student athletes. And I believe that this early start in the season will open up more non-conference game opportunities for our MIAA schools. Most of you are aware that the 2023 football season will be Lincoln University's last season in the conference. In football, they are being treated as a non-conference game. This provided opportunities for institutions if they wanted to find a new opponent. And I'm excited that one of our schools was able to do that. Pittsburgh State University will be matching up this year with Sioux Falls. Will be coming to Pittsburgh. In 2024, with 11 active member institutions, we'll be having a rolling bye week in the conference schedule for non-conference opponents. And as I mentioned earlier, that could be impacted by the early start date legislation that will be considered by the membership in January. In 2025, stay tuned. My hope is that we'll be able to add another member institution as a member of the conference that sponsors football. And if that's the case, we'll look at possibly going to a divisional structure, a North and South division in football and all of our sports. At the current time, and I don't have it in front of me, Amber, could you give me a copy of the media polls? I want to announce our football media poll from both the media and the coaches. This will be available over in our media center in the Brush Creek room. Brenna has copies of this, but announced this morning, probably going out on our website right now, is both the preseason coaches poll and the preseason media poll. In both the preseason coaches poll and the media poll, the top 6 schools, top 7 schools in both polls are the same. Pittsburgh State, Northwest Missouri State, Emporia State, Washburn. In the coaches poll, a tie for 5th between Central Oklahoma and Nebraska Kearney, and Central Missouri in the 7th spot. That's the same for both the preseason coaches poll as well as the media. In the coaches poll, they have Fort Hays State at 8, Missouri Western at 9, Missouri Southern at 10, and Northeastern State at 11. In the media poll, it sees Missouri Southern at 8, Missouri Western at 9, Fort Hays State at 10, and Northeastern State at 11. As I said, both of those polls are now out and available over in the media center. Before I open it up for any questions, and I'll be available all day if anyone wants to go one-on-one, but I'm going to turn it over to Phil and ask Phil Laurie to say a few things about the upcoming football season. Phil?
Okay, thank you, Mike. Wow, you hit on my first 3 topics.
Oh no,
I'm gonna add a few things to it. We had a very exciting year last year, and with the use of sideline replay or Sky Coach, I'm very proud of how the MIAA took this and ran with it, and we couldn't have done it without your help. And I'll start with Mike, the letter that he wrote to the NCAA to get permission for us to do this experiment. The letter started on July 1st, I believe. We had our meetings in Indianapolis, and we didn't have it. We didn't have the replay. So Mike followed up on it. We had the guy that our rep lives in Manhattan, Kansas. He brought his stuff to the office in Kansas City and showed it to Amber and Mike and myself. I think Dwight was there because I wanted to referee to see how it worked. And Mike says, Phil, I want to do this. And Amber said, we can do it. So that's where it started. And if you don't have that organization in the office, the administration, you're going to have a problem. Well, we knew it would work. He drove it. And here's the best thing. He sent a policy and procedures 8-page email to the ADs and said, you're responsible for this, make it work. As I traveled to all the schools in the preseason in August, several of you had your Sky Coach equipment in your office set up, and I walk in, and I know Andy up at Northwest, I said, what you doing, practicing? He said, Phil, this is difficult, but we're going to make it work. And what I want to do is pat everybody on the back, because at the national meeting, when they decided that we're going to be able to do this, it was August. And that's a tough time to start new things. But because of what Mike did, what the ADs did, what our coaches did, what our players did, and our officials to make this work, our fans loved it. Now, I went back this year to Indianapolis, and I thought maybe I'd been crowned king or something. They all loved it. Ty Halpin, Steve Shaw, Bill Carollo were the 3 committee that we had to sell. We sold 2 of them. I'm sorry, we lost on one, we sold one, and then Ty Halpin had COVID and didn't vote until he found out what league was doing it. And he said, Steve, if MIAA is going to do it, and Mike wrote such a good letter, it's a closed conference, let him do the experiment. Now this year, when I went back, it was, oh my gosh, you guys hit a grand slam home run. I said, well, you got to have the organization. So we've got several D2 and D3 schools or conferences going to try this year. I've sent all of our information to those schools. They're up and running. They're already calling me. I'm going to send them on Jason real quick. But it was quite a deal. I've been going to those meetings in Indy, Chicago first, and then Indianapolis every year. And we're trying to get D2 to get the same feeling in their officiating as D1. Okay, I understand we don't have the money, but you don't need money to do the little things. And I've had so much help in my career here that when I asked for something, it got taken care of. And I'm very proud of our officials over the years. Looked it up the other day, and I've hired 257 officials in how many years, Dwight? I don't even know. 14? That seems like a lot of officials. It is, but we have a feeder system. I'll get into that in just a minute. But very happy with replay, how it's worked, adding a new camera, plus the pixels are 3 times clearer than they were last year. And trust me, we have high definition on our iPads. The D1 replay people couldn't believe the clarity of our video compared to theirs. And they have 23 cameras at some schools. Okay, our staff, we have 68 officials from 6 states. We do not have a problem in finding officials. High school, it's killing them. They're moving games to Friday and Thursday and Saturday because of the officials, not because of facilities. But we're able to get our officials from the Kansas JUCO Conference, the NAIA, and that's the Kansas Collegiate Athletic Conference, the Heart of America, the GPAC, which is the Great Plains Athletic Conference, which is Nebraska and Iowa. Our 13 officials that we have this year that are new are from Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. When I say new, they're not new to football. They're not new to football officiating. The average age of our new 13 officials is 39 years. Excuse me. That's pretty mature. So that's the average age, 39 years. I would say the average length of officiating college football is about 8 years. So we've got experienced people. It's the best of the best that's available. I have a Rolodex type, well, it's on the computer now, of people that want to be in this conference in officiating. Why do they want to be in the MIAA? We've got the best football in D2 from top to bottom. We have great fan base. The schools put on a show on Saturday. NAIA, not quite at that level, and they shouldn't be. But our schools, our communities love college football. And it's because of our administration at each school and the fan following. It's wonderful. It's not that way throughout the country. And I get to talk to a lot of people about our conference. And if you're the best, you better put it on the field that you're the best. Pressure on the officials to be the best in the country. Year after year, I think we've made that goal. Let's talk about some new rules real quick. And pull me off here, Mike, when you think I've gone too far. Drone policy. We now have a drone policy for college football. They're not allowed to fly over the field or team area when squad members or players are within the playing enclosure. So they're going to allow drones. I know Northwest does it in pregame. Scared me to death in one of our playoff games. But that's our drone policy. Here's the other part. Outside the limit lines, that's the dotted line that the photographer's 12 feet off the sideline. So the drones would have to stay off of that. And it will be, drones are under game management, not officials. It's under a conference policy, and it will be governed, that's who will govern the drone activity. Referees may temporarily suspend the game if conditions warrant such action. So if the referees think something's dangerous with this, we're going to stop the game and get the drone out of there. Another new rule, halftime intermission. We've had problems throughout the country with players coming back on the field and there's still a halftime show, band, whatever, kids playing youth football, whatever. So the new rule for halftime is at 3 minutes left on the game clock, we got a 20-minute half, 3 minutes left on the game clock, the field needs to be cleared. Now the players can come on and do their warm-up. If players like kickers will come out early because they want to kick, and someone is on the field, say they come out with 7 minutes left on the game clock, they must go to their team area and kick into the net. They cannot kick on the field. Once the field is open, let's say there's no program at halftime, then they can come out and kick wherever they'd like to kick. We will put the L formation, coaches and players know what that is, at halftime if both teams are on the field early. So you still have the L as far as the way where you kick and things like that. To be quick with it, they were kicking into the tubas on the band. That was a big game at some school, and understand we're nationwide. Consecutive charged team timeouts will no longer be allowed by the same team in any individual dead ball period. So if you're going to try to ice the kicker at the end of the game and you've got 3 timeouts left, you can only use one of them. You can't use duplicate or triplicate. So that's a new rule. Field goal mechanics. Now, this is for field goals, not for extra points. We're going to take our center judge and put him on the defensive side of the ball on field goals. If you visualize a field goal, we're kicking this direction. Our center judge will go, umpire will be in the middle on the defensive side. Side judge will be to the right of the umpire. Center judge will be the left of the umpire. So we've got 3 guys on the defensive side of a field goal. Their job is to watch for the pull and shoot. Pull and shoot would be a defensive lineman grabbing an offensive lineman, pulling him, creating a hole for another player to shoot through and block the field goal. We're feeling that this new mechanic is going to give us much better look at that type of a play. And it could be out on the outside of the formation where they do the pull and shoot.
Bill, we got time for one more.
Okay. Extension. Well, let's do clock status on first downs. With 2 minutes or more, so more than 2 minutes in the half, each half, and the clock will no longer be stopped to award a first down when the play ends in bounds. With less than 2 minutes in the second or fourth quarter, the game clock will be stopped for the first down and restarted by the referee's signal. And then the last quick thing was points of emphasis, protection of defenseless players, disconcerting signals by the defense like clapping, feigning injuries, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting opponents, sideline management, coaches stay out of the green, illegal contact against the quarterback or passer. That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
As you can see, Phil's on top of it, and we're very fortunate that Phil and his program in officiating, it's really a year-long activity for Phil in recruiting, evaluating, training. Our officials train in the off-season just like our student athletes do. This week on Friday, Phil will have his annual MIAA football clinic camp in Topeka, and we'll have the entire MIAA officiating staff in Topeka for 3 days, I think.
Yes.
And that really is the start of their preparation for the actual games and working on their mechanics, working on the new rules. But we appreciate everything Phil does. As I mentioned, I'll be available for one-on-one interviews with any folks in the media that would like to talk. Phil will be available as well. Phil, will you be here through lunch?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
For all of it.
All right. So grab Phil if you'd like to visit with him about anything. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start to get the teams and student athletes and coaches in front of you. And I'd like to help us facilitate that. I'd like to introduce our MC for today's Football Media Day, Tim Hanna. Tim has been with us before. Tim is a former MIAA student athlete, has gained a wide range of experience since his graduation in athletics production, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. He's worked on Olympic broadcasts as an MC for Division I basketball games and was the assistant general manager for the St. Joseph Mustangs baseball team. I'm pleased to welcome Liberty, Missouri native Tim Hanna. Tim?
Thank you, Mike. Well, welcome to the 2023 MIAA Football Media Day presented by Siegfried Bingham. For our school's media guests and to our audience watching live on the MIAA network, we hope you enjoy this kickoff event to what should be another exciting season in the MIAA. This year's event is being hosted at the Kauffman Foundation Conference Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you to the center's staff for serving as this year's host. We'd also like to thank Impact Interiors for providing this year's Media Day shirts and for their continued support of MIAA student athletes. For our viewers watching for free on the MIAA network, you can tweet in your questions today using the hashtag AskMIAA. The full schedule of when each team is on the stage is available on our website, themiaa.com. Next up is the Missouri Southern head coach, Atiba Bradley, wide receiver, Jaden Stoshak, and defensive lineman, Solomona Fetuau. In just his second season leading the Lions, Coach Bradley led Missouri Southern to a 4-7 record. Coach, we're going to start off with you. Just kind of touch some brief comments on last season and what you're looking forward to most in 2023, and then we'll open up to both athletes before the media. Coach?
2022 was a great year in respects of I feel like we established ourselves in the ability to compete in this league, and I think it's been a long time since Missouri Southern's been able to do that. And so excited from that standpoint, but 2022 had a lot of close losses, and I'm excited to see if we've made the jump that we need to so that those close losses turn into close wins and we can flip this thing around.
And Jaden, I'll start with you again. Same thing. Brief comments on last season and what you're looking forward to most in 2023.
I think just kind of focusing on the fine details to close out those games that we had that were, I think 3 games where it was a combined 10 points that we lost by. So, I mean, that makes your record look completely different. So,
I mean, I can't dwell within the past season and what happened. I mean, we came short. We didn't meet the goals that we have for that season. But just going on to it, I mean, just taking baby steps, what Coach was saying, just in making that jump, just improving what we can do better for this upcoming season. So it's going to be exciting and it's fun. So can't wait for it.
We'll now open up to questions from the media as well as those watching along at home. Be sure to use the hashtag AskMIAA on Twitter. Got one back, right?
Coach, you talked about the depth and experience you guys have coming back on the offensive line. Just where did that group really improve in the offensive line to get healthy and get themselves ready for this season?
Well, I give a credit to our strength coach, Brian Burton. I thought he did a heck of a job starting in November. We sat down and we said, hey, we need to become bigger, stronger, more physical in our fronts, and he attacked it. Between him and the guys doing the work, he really did a great job putting good muscle and good weight on those guys, and then with our athletic trainers, and we've got those guys healthy, we've gotten them stronger, and I think it's going to turn into a great season for those guys up front.
Hi, Coach. What do you like about your?
It is always good to see you. This is 20 years.
What do you like about your team heading into the fall camp?
You know what? I like our mentality. I spoke with someone earlier. I think when I took the job here, the mentality in the locker room, the winning mentality was a minority. And now moving 2 years past that, we finally got that to be the majority. Everybody is hungry. Everybody understands their role in the process. Everybody understands that it takes all 120 players and 12 staff to get this thing where we want it to go. And I think that's probably been the most exciting thing, is just seeing those guys do their jobs day in and day out.
Another thing with the rules changes on the clock not stopping it on first downs, are you one of the few coaches in this league who probably like that rule?
It'll be interesting to see how it truly impacts it. I really feel that the clock stops a lot in the last 2 minutes anyway. I mean, I'm interested to see how it truly affects the amount of reps that are actually taken in a football game. But it should be. It is what it is. I'm not on the rules committee, so yeah, I trust them that they've pushed our game forward. So I'm a fan.
We've got one back, right?
Coach, Nathan Glaze was one of the best running backs in the conference last year, obviously. Just how exciting is that to have him back, and what's he kind of do for your offense in terms of setting the tone out there and being somebody you can rely on?
Yeah, I think the one thing that sets Nathan and these two young men apart from a lot of people and a lot of players is they're not just great players, they're great people. They're great leaders. They're guys that not the most vocal at times, but you can see their work. No one will ever question how hard they work and them doing the right things. And as we continue to drive this culture and this team, that's very important to have those guys that set examples for the new guys coming in, moving forward. For the athletes, Jaden, I'll start with you. Heading into your senior season,
coach's third year. How do you kind of see the overall team atmosphere change as well as the culture in this offseason leading you into his third year and your final season?
Even when he first came in, you could notice a difference from the previous staff. And for guys, that was kind of something difficult being able to transition from one head coaching staff to the other. And even since his first year being here, it's different the third year now going into it. Just guys trusting our coaching staff, not playing for themselves, but playing as a team. That's just kind of the biggest thing that I've seen as a difference.
And same to you, Solomona.
I mean, we have taken a big leap ever since Coach Atiba stepped in. I mean, there's still more room for improvement, and I believe that's the work ethic that we have been putting in day in and day out, and just having that connection with the coaches and the relationship. It's just amazing to have that connection with them, being able to sit down, just talk about things that we need to improve on, like every day. So.
And Coach, to you, I mean, how important has it been going into your third year to have leaders like the guys on either side of you to lean on?
Well, it makes all the difference. There's a ton of rules and regulations in place that limit the amount of contact coaches can have with their players during certain times of the year. And so when you don't have the leaders like these guys, sometimes you stay stagnant. They're not doing anything. But these guys have been anything but stagnant. They have pushed the program forward. They have worked extremely hard. They've organized practices on their own. They've done the things that we need to do that, quite frankly, all the top teams are doing. And so now I'm excited to get out there and prove that, we've done the right things to win games.
Coach, every game in the MIAA is tough, obviously, but you open week one with Northwest and Joplin. Just how excited are you for kind of the atmosphere in Joplin for a big-time matchup like that?
Yeah, well, and I think it's a big-time matchup because it's an opportunity to play football. There's no taking away the accolades and the credit that they get. They're in a great program. But, we know that, if we win that game, there's still a lot of season left. If we lose that game, there's still a lot of season left. And so our guys aren't necessarily focused to play one opponent, but just excited for the opportunity to compete. I think that's the message and the theme that we're taking as we go into that week.
Coach, last season, special teams was a very big part of your guys' game, kick returning, punt returning, and kicking and punting. Just how do you guys plan to utilize that success from last season into this year and helping you guys win games?
Yeah, I think that any complete football team has to click on all three cylinders, and that's not just offense and defense, which regularly gets the attention as it should, but special teams are important, and that can oftentimes be the difference maker as you go into a season. That can help you get over the hump when whether one side of the ball is struggling or not. That's the one that can kind of help and get you the momentum you need on offense or defense. So, yeah, it's something we focus on every practice, every day. As a staff, we talk about it all the time. How can we get better in that regards?
For Solomona, last season battled some injuries, right? Looking into this year, I mean, obviously have to be driven in the summer, but what are you looking forward to most? And what did that prepare you more last year?
I mean, it was devastating what happened, but I can only control what I can control. So at this point, I'm just going to focus on what's like at this moment. So it has prepared me well. It was tough to look at things too, just having to play a few games with my teammates, just having to be on the sideline and just looking at them play. I would rather be on the field with them, just being other than being on the sideline. But I feel like this year is going to be a great year, and I'm just going to focus on what I can control at this point. So, yeah.
And then Jaden on the offensive side of the ball, who has really kind of stood out to you in that spring ball in these summer workouts? Again, the player-led workouts that you as a senior leader have kind of brought under your wing and see them having a great year this year.
I think Luke Sampson has really stepped up. He came in last season after our starting quarterback had an injury, and I think him getting reps with our starters, the more that he gets reps, the better he performs and better he looks out on the field, and that's going to be a big part of our offense, being the quarterback. Even as being a young guy, I think he's done a great job of stepping up.
Definitely.
Yeah, this question is for any of the three of you guys. I know all three of you talked about wanting to turn those close losses into wins. is that something you can practice, or how do you go about practicing something like that?
Well, I think as you play in a number of those games and you coach in a number of those games, you start to get comfortable in those moments. And confidence is a real fragile thing when you're young in your program. And so the longer you go, the more confidence you build. And what you realize is up by 14, down by 14, you always have an opportunity to win the football game. And so I think going into this season, our mindset is just in a much better place to handle those type of close games.
Jaden, we'll start.
Yeah, I can add to that. Also, knowing when, a simple holding call, situational football, simple holding call in the second quarter versus a holding call in the fourth quarter that might be for your game-winning drive can just be completely different calls. You'll see them completely different because you only have 2-3 minutes left. So I think eliminating those small errors will be a big force.
It's just like just summarizing what Dylan was saying, just limiting those basic details like the errors that we have like on the field. So it's something that we can control and that can be changed as well. So, yeah.
Got one back here.
And Jaden, you talked about Luke really stood out to you. Just obviously we saw him flashes during last season of what he can really do. Just where was the improvement that you saw from him during the offseason where it really jumped out to you like, hey, this guy's ready to go this year?
I think his decision-making, being able to see his reads better now. Last year, he was kind of thrown into it. Every now and then he would take a series here and there. But, when it was his time to play, he was just thrown in there. And so not that he didn't have reps before, but I think, the more you rep anything, the better you're going to be at it. And so being able to have those repetitions with reads, the timing with your receivers, the mesh with your running backs, I think all three phases that he worked there, he's performed well in.
And Coach, just going to leave us with some final thoughts on 2023.
Well, I think 2023 is going to be a great year for the league. I'm excited to see the growth in a lot of the programs. I look around and you're filled with a league with great coaches, great programs, great institutions. Unfortunately, we see these guys not just week to week, but we see them in recruiting. And I was telling someone earlier, I've been at places where you're like, well, don't worry about them. They won't go there. But I'm telling you right now, the MIAA is filled with quality programs and institutions, and we're excited to be a part of it and excited to kind of put our footprint on it.
Well, thank you guys again. Best of luck to you this fall. Missouri Southern football. So that will conclude the 2023 MIAA Football Media Day. We would like to thank everyone for being in attendance today. Be on the lookout for this August for information on how to sign up for the MIAA Network to catch all the football action this season. Finally, a big thank you to Siegfried Bingham, our presenting sponsor. We also want to give a shout out to the Kauffman Foundation Conference Center, staff, and Impact Interiors for their support of this event and MIAA football. We look forward to seeing you at a game this fall. Thank you for your support of the MIAA student athletes everywhere. Have a good night.